everyone. Welcome to Empowered with Gina. I have the most delicious guest joining me today. And it's funny because I'm going to learn more about her through this podcast because we recently met and we've not had a chance to develop out and learn really about each other. But I knew her story was perfect fit for this podcast. So please welcome Miss Barrie Schwartz.
Yay!
Welcome,
Hi.
friend. How are you?
So excited to be here. I'm doing spectacular.
I am so excited because before we went live, we were talking a little bit and we have more connections than we know.
It's wild.
I love it. Okay, Barrie, so you are the founder and chief experience officer of My House Events.
Yes.
Which is apparently bi-coastal.
It is.
I mean, okay, so we're going to get into that shortly, but first I always start asking my guests 3 adjectives to describe yourself.
Curious.
Okay.
Adventurous. What's an adjective for integrity? I'm like,
Oh, we can just say
integrity.
Yeah, you have integrity.
I have integrity.
I don't know how to conjugate that one. All right, where did you grow up?
Outside Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Detroit, what
Michigan.
kind of household was it?
Very suburban household, Jewish family. I have 2 brothers. I'm the oldest. Always been pretty entrepreneurial, personable, love talking to different people.
How'd you do in school?
I was really good with the creative analytical stuff. Math and science, not so well.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then you weren't like the strongest academic student.
No.
And then, so I know you're in the space of culinary, what was the word?
Culinary curation.
Culinary curation. As a little girl, as a teenager, was that ever in your mind? Like, I'm gonna.
I would say it wasn't in my mind that I was going to do that, but looking back, the signs were there. Like, I always loved how people came together over food. My neighborhood had a lot of Arabs and Latinos and
Delicious.
Black people. And we, like, when I would go to people's house and try the culture, like, through their food and cook with people's grandparents,
That's love.
I would get very excited.
Oh,
yeah.
God, I can smell it already. Okay, so there were pieces there. Talk to me about what led you to where you currently are now in a snapshot. What did that look like?
A snapshot would be, so I went to University of Michigan and I had my first big hustle, which was going to fly fishing stores, and I would get game day colors, so like maize and blue, and I would email all the sorority girls and put feathers in their hair on game days. And I was like famous on campus for doing this. So I feel like that from like that early age of seeing what it was like to start a business and gain popularity, I love doing that, and I love being my own boss. And then when I graduated college, all my friends had jobs and I did not. And I felt very self-conscious about it. And I thought I wanted to go into nonprofit management and was drawn to New Orleans. I thought New Orleans seemed really special and vibrant and a good place to be an entrepreneur. I loved California, but I thought the cost of living in New Orleans made a lot of sense for where I was. And so I moved to New Orleans and
Did you know people there?
I knew nobody. Yeah, I knew nobody. I had always worked in food service to make money and been a waitress my whole life. And so I was at a restaurant and there was
in New Orleans
called Coquette. It's an amazing French restaurant, contemporary French. It's really good. And there was an amazing chef there, Nini Nguyen, who is from a Vietnamese family. And she was like, hey, how about we do this dinner party and we would collaborate and talk. And I'd be like, oh, I could totally sell tickets to that. We could do it at my house. And so that was the birth of my now business, My House Events, was chefs started coming to me to do this. And this is before pop-ups was such a thing or a movement. So we were kind of the original pop-up group at that time. This was 2011.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So literally you had ideas
Yeah.
and you're like, let's just do it.
Yes, very much so. Was just like, we just started doing it. No, didn't know what I was doing. Would email the newspapers, call them, Facebook message people, very much on the ground, like started asking nonprofits that it was after Katrina.
Right.
So there's a lot of empty land. So started asking nonprofits if we could, you know, use some land for a food truck festival and if they would promote it to their neighborhoods. And it just kind of like kept blowing up from there.
How long after Katrina?
This was 5 years after Katrina.
Okay, so enough time had passed.
Yeah, it was rebuilding.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you see it, everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah.
So you didn't have this grand dream your whole life.
Definitely not. I always tell like anyone I know starting a business, like don't wait for the perfect idea because whatever you do, it's going to evolve. It's more about just starting to do stuff and listening to how people respond, and it's going to keep shifting. What we do now is very different from what I was doing in 2011.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
What do you do with, and this ties into my whole empowerment conversation, what did and do you do when you hit a wall with an idea, or you get told no, or something is not working the way you want it to and is causing a lot of stress and challenge? How do you get through it?
I usually stop doing it. If something is really causing a lot of stress and challenge and you keep hitting a wall, it shouldn't happen. That's my philosophy. Of course, there's certain things like if you know you have to do it, or it's a permit you need for your business or something, you have to keep pushing. But I tend to think that good things don't have to be hard.
Sure.
And you can listen to the clients around you. And if you think you have this idea for a new service, but no one is biting, you should let it go and listen to like, what are people responding to? What feels really good? It should feel like a natural progression.
Not forced.
Not forced.
Because that doesn't work long term.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you started doing these private dinners.
Yes.
A novel concept, especially in New Orleans, I would think at the time.
Absolutely.
How did you get people to buy into it?
Definitely a lot to do with who we partnered with, that grassroots marketing of like, okay, this chef is a great person to let us into this group, and they're going to tell their friends. Then for the next one, we have those email addresses and it kept building. And then what nonprofits we partnered with was really good for reaching new audiences. And eventually I was really inspired by the food truck scene in Portland and Austin. So I started doing food truck festivals while doing the dinner parties.
So did you own a food truck?
I never owned a food truck. I would basically get permission from a landowner to use their land, or a bar and restaurant to basically set up a whole like festival outside of their bar. And I would contact all the food trucks and almost like just a promoter and put like, whether it was like a July 4th festival with like food trucks, or whether it was a neighborhood festival, and started doing a lot of that.
Were there any other food truck scenes in New Orleans at the time?
Not really. No, I mean, there was a food truck coalition and we would partner with them, and my company, it was called My House NOLA at the time. We would partner with the food truck coalition and we helped change the legislation in New Orleans.
How'd you do that?
We worked with the city council members at large and just like really tried to create more equitable laws for small businesses that were food trucks.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So for those of you who know me, I have connections in Louisiana because of our home, and our law firm is there as well. I did not know this about Barrie until she got here. So like the universe aligns as it always does so perfectly.
100%.
Okay. So now speed us up. You started with these curated private dinners.
Yeah.
Then you added
food trucks, and it was really exciting and fun, and I loved all the different food coming together.
Okay.
But what I didn't love was promoting it. And
why?
If it rained, no one would come, and I would still ask these food trucks for a fee, and it just felt like harder than it needed to be, and I couldn't really see how it was a long-term sustainable business plan.
Makes sense,
I loved it. It was gaining hype and we were all having fun, but what I saw the trucks liked was when they made a lot of money,
of course,
and when lots of different people came out, and when they knew it's so hard in food service when you don't know how much food to prepare for. So in 2013, it was an amazing opportunity. Microsoft saw what I was doing, and they asked if we could help supply food trucks for their 10,000 person conference.
In New Orleans?
In New Orleans, on the riverfront outside the aquarium. Beautiful. And so it was definitely the light bulb moment of like, wow, there's so many event producers, brands, venues who obviously need food and drinks. And then there's all my chef friends who aren't good with email. They maybe don't know how to price it. They maybe aren't doing the staffing or building an outdoor kitchen. And it was like, oh, we're going to be the connector between those worlds. So that was the aha moment that brings us to very much so what we're doing today.
Which is what exactly?
Which is customizing and curating menus for anyone having a private event, whether it's wedding, corporate, brand, working with a whole database of chefs. And we're mission-based, so those chefs are Black, brown, LGBTQ, and women-owned businesses.
Come on.
And so if you are like, hey, I'm having a party and
I will
want,
be saying that.
Great, whenever you want.
I'm already thinking.
Great. And you're like, I want tacos, I want oysters, and then late night, we want to have beignets. We will put it all together under one contract, one proposal. We'll do all the staffing. We'll do all the communication with all the different components.
So that you're the liaison. You
exactly
handle it.
We do all the production. Yeah, we're a one-stop shop.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and we do a lot of really cool experiential things too. So like we just did an amazing event for Primal Kitchen. You know, they're owned by Heinz. They're a really amazing condiment company that doesn't use seed oils. They're awesome. Okay. A lot of people know their mayo.
Oh.
And we went on a whole US tour with them with their cranberry holiday mayonnaise, where we set up and fabricated a mayo mobile. Oh. And we found local chefs in Chicago, New York City, and LA, and gave out 1,000 free turkey sandwiches on different days in all 3 cities. So we did all the fabrication, the logistics, the chef sourcing. Yeah, we love stuff like that.
There is a business for everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want, this is an outside of the box proof that it works.
Yes.
You created a business.
100%.
You didn't fit in the regular puzzle piece.
No, still don't.
Accountant, doctor, lawyer, teacher, whatever. Those are all wonderful.
Yes.
But a lot of people out there feel like that's not authentic to them. And you're just like, I'll make my own industry.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Holy moly. Okay, so now how did you come to Los Angeles?
So 2020, well, let's back up. 2019 was the best year for our business. My business partner and I, who I met a few years into founding the business, and she's amazing. So whole other segment on how great it is to work with good people.
Yes.
But we were on top of the world. We had a team of 5. We were looking at opening up a venue that would be our headquarters in downtown New Orleans. We had the best year ever. And then starting in February of 2020, started getting emails first from New York clients saying, hey, we're hearing about this thing. What will it look like with our deposit if we push our wedding back a week? Which, as we all know, snowballed into a few years and snowballed into a huge, huge conundrum for being an events business. And it all kind of stopped completely still by April 2020.
Damn.
And I went through a massive breakup as well.
Oh my gosh.
We had been together for 7.5 years. And I really just in July 2020 got in my car and drove out to California.
Why there?
Being a mission-based business, I was always obsessed with the diversity of Los Angeles and how that showed through their food. I always loved eating in LA. I also, being in New Orleans where there's a lot of destination clients, I loved our California clients. I fit in with the work culture pretty well. Mm-hmm. And my brother was living out here and I had a best friend out here. So it kind of all made sense.
Got it.
So I moved out to LA.
And are you like depressed mode at this point?
Yeah.
Broken up.
Definitely.
Business shut down.
Yeah, pretty shut down. We were we had been pretty good at keeping our staff, and like we were able to get some really amazing FEMA government contracts that kept us afloat in Louisiana. So we made it through. There were some very scary moments, but we ended up being in a really good place. We also were able to be really prime for a lot of the government programs that were going on, and that saved our business. Okay. But yeah, it was definitely a humbling experience to go from by the time I had like left, I was not on site. We had full-time staff, and then all of a sudden being in Los Angeles, like messaging chefs who have no idea who I am on Instagram. It was very much starting over. It was humbling.
Wow.
Yes.
Ooh. So you basically started over.
Yeah, started
as a
from the ground
brand
up.
new business in COVID.
Yeah, built a whole new branch. It was the same business, but just expanded it to LA. Same exact model. Yeah, same exact model. And now our team has kind of elevated itself and is back and up and running in New Orleans, and they're actually like overseeing both cities. So our director of production is flying out to LA all the time.
Stop.
Yeah, it's been really special.
I can't right now.
Yeah,
like, I'm just thinking of so many things we're going to do together.
Great. Love it.
Okay. So then I met you at an event that Vanessa Hernandez, VH Skin, put on. It was gorgeous, beautiful lunch. And the reason why you're even sitting here is because this gorgeous, literally curated piece of art meal comes out. and it's organic and it's sustainably sourced and this and that. And it tastes good. Okay. And I said, where, how? And they're like, oh yeah, the chef and their team is right over there. That's when I had to go figure. I had to get to the bottom of this.
I love it because that was also very special because I never cook. I never am the one cooking. That was like a very special circumstance. So you cooked too? I cooked all of that. That was me. I was the chef.
I thought you produced that.
That one I cooked. That was completely.
Okay, Barrie.
That was my food.
You can cook too?
Yes, I love cooking. I'm a very passionate cook.
Have you always been able to cook? Or you learned it?
I learned it. Yeah, I learned it. I would say I didn't realize or know how good I was until I, got out of my comfort zone, and all of a sudden I'm outside Louisiana where all my friends are chefs. And I'm in California. When I first got to California, I was, hiking and doing different things and not hanging out with only chefs for the first time in a long time. And so I would cook for people, just myself, and they were freaking out over my food. And I realized, oh yeah, like I hang out with all chefs, and that's why no one's acknowledged it before, but I can cook. And so I started private chefing while I was waiting for stuff to like come back.
Okay. And you can privately chef, let me tell you.
Yes.
That was beautiful.
Thanks.
It was a beautiful meal.
Thanks.
And
I
flavorful.
Love that meal.
Oh, it was good. And so I met you, and so you do those type of private events.
Yes.
And what's the future? What are you going to do next?
Well, we just hired an unbelievable director of sales, which we've never invested in our company in that way. And she is such a badass. And I would say what's next is really taking like this Primal Kitchen thing and doing more experiential marketing, world tours with brands where we can do all of their local chef sourcing and fabrication and kind of take that to the next level. That's our next big plateau. And then continuing to just grow our footprint in Los Angeles. Right now, Los Angeles, which I'm really proud of, it's only been around for 3 years. 2 of those are the pandemic, and it's already 35% of our business. So I think the big goal of what's next is continuing to make it so that LA becomes 60-70% of our business.
Yeah. Where do you prefer being? Don't pick sides, but pick a side.
Honestly, personally, Los Angeles.
Really?
I think New Orleans was an amazing place for my 20s. I love New Orleans. I'm so excited. I'm getting married in New Orleans. I love it. But I think Los Angeles, to be around ambitious, entrepreneurial people is different. And then the healthier lifestyle. I think that's I was, there's only so much like
king cake one can eat.
Yeah, king cake and Sazeracs you can have.
Come on.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the health component of that, because it's interesting, because I just had this conversation with my friend in New Orleans this morning, actually. I said, Happy New Year. We hadn't really talked. And she says, well, it's more like Happy Carnival.
Yes.
And I said, how do you do that, by the way? You start in Thanksgiving with heavy, rich food and more alcohol than usual for those that drink. You go into the holidays and you go to the Christmas and you do New Year's, and the second New Year's is over. And I didn't know this. Mardi Gras onslaught begins. Like, oh no, now it's time to turn it up.
It's exhausting.
And here in Los Angeles, like New Year's is over, back to take those Christmas decorations down, get back on the horse. Here we go. Focus.
Yes.
That's
exhausting.
what I knew. Oh no.
Yeah.
The culture shock that I had going out there. The food, and it's heavy and it's delicious and it's
amazing.
And it's, how does one loving delicious food and loving indulging in cocktails and champagne and king cake, which I didn't know about.
It's amazing. King cake. Yes.
King cake parties.
Yes.
Look it up. It's a thing.
Yes.
How does one, what would you recommend for someone?
It's hard.
You're around chefs all the time. You're around restaurants, food. The food you made us was absolutely stunning and healthy and gorgeous.
Healthy.
People live in food deserts, as we know, grocery store deserts. They don't have access to quality foods, healthy foods.
Yeah, it's really hard.
What do you say to people like that want that lifestyle, that want to adopt that might, and again, New Orleans is a good example, so is Los Angeles. What are some ways people can get around that with what they do have available for them?
I think cooking at home is always going to be healthier than a restaurant. Mm-hmm. I think looking for stuff that, if you can have access to it without seed oil, is really big.
Explain that, because a lot of people don't understand
I think there's
that.
just certain fats that are better for you than others. And in the U.S. especially, we put a lot of these like different kind of almost unknown ingredients into our food.
Like you can't pronounce them.
Yeah. If you can't pronounce it, it's not a good sign.
Right.
So trying to look at the ingredients and have more like whole foods. I mean, anytime there's like whole vegetables and you can just even just put that in a pot with a can of beans and put it on low heat, that's wholesome and great and really healthy.
Well, I know my kids are going to be eating this weekend.
Low and slow. That's the key.
Low and slow. Simmer.
Yeah, simmer. Or you can like saute a vegetable on a pan and get it browned. And then you could just cut that up. And I love add a can of beans, use the water that's in that can of beans. And it's great.
Really?
And you can
drain it.
Yeah. And you can crack an egg in it and you can just cover it. And you can just lemon juice, I think, is the key to everything. You know, salt, fat, acid, heat makes everything taste good.
Is that what it is?
Yes, 100%. Always have salt, fat, acid, and heat, and it'll taste great.
I can't even believe you just told me to make something that I'm like, I could do that.
You could easily
I can
do
open
that.
a can of beans.
Absolutely.
Pour it in.
Absolutely. And if you're ever like, if you and your family ever has a rotisserie chicken from the
That's all
grocery
I
store,
buy.
what you can save the carcass and just pour water over it and let it simmer while you're like putting the kids to bed. And that's how you create chicken stock. And then you can just put it in the freezer after.
What?
And chicken stock.
So don't throw the bones out?
Don't throw the bones out.
Oh, no.
And then you can use that stock to make rice instead of water, and the rice will taste way more rich and delicious.
And probably healthier.
And way healthier. Like, that's healthy fat.
Can I make macaroni and cheese with that?
Yeah.
My children eat a lot of it.
Yes. Oh, that would be really good.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. And
So
then
instead of water?
add frozen spinach into the mac and cheese. They're getting their
even know.
greens.
They
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
don't know.
I love it.
They don't know.
Mask it all.
Yeah.
I can't believe this just happened because I'm really excited. I love eating. And so I'm going to do that this weekend.
Me too. And there's
I'll
lots of
credit
ways.
you.
It doesn't have to be hard. Like eating
But
healthy.
people are intimidated by it.
It is very scary and intimidating, and I understand that. But like, I think just like cooking vegetables and then chicken is always really good, you know?
Always.
And always fish. Fish is
The best.
the best.
Yeah. Okay, Barrie. I mean, I have so many questions, but we'll do it
Yeah.
another time
It's a
because
lot.
now I'm like bursting with ideas.
Lots of tangents.
How can people find you and hire you?
Yay, My House Events.
Okay.
That's our Instagram handle, our Facebook, on LinkedIn. I'm Barrie Schwartz. It's Barrie. And myhouseevents.com.
Okay, and we'll put it in the comment or in the caption below so you can follow her. And let's hire and learn and follow. And I mean, such a wealth of knowledge. And I'll
Thank
probably
you.
see you in New Orleans.
Absolutely.
One of these trips.
Let's do it. And anyone can feel free to reach out to me if you're
Yeah.
even looking for a venue to get married at in LA or anywhere. I mean, I love just like talking through tips with people.
So nice. I love it. Okay, well, Barrie, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Bye, friends.
Bye.